Hi everyone, today I'm going to show you my favorite keystrokes in Adobe Illustrator, and I think getting your keystrokes down is key, lol, to designing more efficiently and more quickly. And one thing that I love about this is it makes you less tired at the end of the day. If you're spending less time staring at the designs, less time moving your hands in these like slight tiny movements, it just fatigues you a little bit less. And so I think that that's really helpful in the long term. And these may seem really small, but they add up over time. So definitely get familiar with your keystrokes. The first thing I want to show you is that you can actually edit your keyboard strokes. One of the ones that I edited was over here in Object Align. I wanted to be able to horizontal align center and vertical align center with a keystroke, so I changed that. I tried to do Control C, but of course that's copy. So it told me that, asked me if I wanted to overwrite it. I said no and chose a different one that I was fine overwriting that I wasn't using. Control Q is like quit, I think, and I don't use that one. So what that looks like is when you go over here, if you press Control W, it'll center it vertically, and if you press Control Q, it'll center it horizontally. Super easy, a little bit easier in my opinion than going up here and clicking Align and then getting into the Align panel. So of course in this program you can also use Control Z, I'll do it twice, which is undo, and if you're on a Mac, anything where I use Control is going to be Command, or if there's something that doesn't quite add up, you can always Google what that keystroke is. Another favorite thing about Adobe is there's tons of tutorials out there on anything you could possibly want. In Adobe, if you use Control to do something, you generally use Control Shift or Control Alt in order to undo that thing. So we undid with Control Z, then if you do Control Shift C, that's a redo. It's undoing the undo. So that's a redo. All right, let's see what else we got. Okay, this is a simple one. This is a simple one, but if you have multiple objects and you want to group them together, that's Control G. Again, Shift Control G will ungroup them, and that's really helpful. You might know about that one already. Another one I use is Control plus and Control minus. This one says equals on the screen, but it's plus and minus to zoom in. It's going to zoom in on the center of your screen unless you have something selected, and then in that case it will zoom in there. If you have one artboard selected and you press Control 0, it'll bring that artboard, whichever one it is, to basically full screen. Something that I go back and forth between a lot is the direct selection tool and the regular selection tool. So I'll use this nice block I have over here to demonstrate that. So the direct selection tool is this one, and that one's with a V. That'll allow me to move the block around, resize it, transform it as an element in and of itself. But if I click A, then that will give me the anchor points. It's the direct selection tool, but I like that A stands for A. And then I can move those points around as needed. So I am constantly switching back and forth between V and A when I'm designing. Another favorite tool is the Eyedropper tool. Whatever you have selected will take on the appearance of whatever you click on. So that is I for the shortcut, and then you click. And this applies to fonts, strokes, a lot of other things. I use it a lot for changing a bunch of fonts to match each other. If you're ever looking to transform a shape, then you can use S Enter, and that will bring up the scale dialog box. You can also use R Enter, and it will bring up the rotate dialog box. So then say we wanted to rotate this 24 degrees, and then we also wanted to rotate this pink one 24 degrees. We could click it, and you click Control D, and it will just perform the same transformation that you just did on whichever object. If you wanted to do it again, you could do Control D on that same object, and it would rotate it an additional 24 degrees. If we had this lovely piece of artwork that we wanted behind our text, it's just a yellow box, you can send it to back by using Control Shift and then the bracket keys. The left one's going to send it to back, the right one's going to send it to front. I always forget which one is which, but my fingers remember, which is the cool thing about using these keystrokes. And then if you're trying to edit the text, but you keep accidentally selecting the yellow box, what you can do is lock it. So that's Control 2, and then you can't ever move that yellow box. To get rid of that, it's Control-Alt-2. So like I said, Control-Alt and Control-Shift typically undo the things that you did with Control by itself. One function I love, so if you were to get rid of something and you wanted to place it in the same place on a different artboard, for instance, if you are designing a table number to go with this invitation and you want to copy the exact same artwork, you can use Control-Shift-V. It will paste it in place. You then have to send it to the back, but it pastes it in the exact same place on the artboard. If you have a bunch of artboards that you want to use, you can actually use Alt, Control, Shift, V, and that will paste it on all of the artboards. So if you're doing 15 table numbers and you want to put a flower or a box or something on all of them, Alt, Shift, Control, V, basically all of them. You can find these like if you go into Edit, paste on all artboards. It's a good one. And then of course there's a lot of different uses for clipping masks, so I'm just going to show you what keystroke we use. They're a little bit more complex, so if you're not sure what those are, make sure to look it up. I'll probably do a video on it soon because there's so many different applications for this. So you select your two objects and then you just go with Control-7. It makes the clipping mask, Control-Alt-7, then releases the clipping mask. So I hope you enjoyed this video showing you a few of my favorite keystrokes to use in Adobe Illustrator. Again, you can very easily customize them by going to Edit, Keyboard Shortcuts, and this is a great place to just look and see which ones you have if you're brand new to this, because you probably have a bunch that you didn't even know about. You might have been doing some things manually that you could have done with a keystroke. And if you want to take this to the next level and record multi-step actions that you can repeat over and over again with keystrokes, I definitely recommend looking up recording actions, and you can tie those to some of the F keystrokes so that you can always do them their next level. We're not necessarily going to talk about those yet, but I'll probably do a video on that soon too. So let me know what you think, which ones are your favorite keystrokes, and let me know if you have any questions in the comments of this video.